Welcome everyone to the 2025 Noakes Sydney to Gold Coast Yacht Race, the great winter escape and the spectacular offshore season opener for the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. We have 61 competitors lining up this afternoon for the 384 nautical mile dash to the Gold Coast main beach. My name's Lisa Diamanin and I'm your host, and joining me today on board the Sail Media Camera Cat is two-time Rolex Sydney Hobart overall winner Jack McCartney. Jack, talk us through what are we seeing on Sydney Harbour today?
Thanks, Lisa. Great to be here. The sun's shining, good breeze, a big crowd on the line, so it should be an exciting start. Gradient northerly pressure. It's been up and down a little bit, but generally speaking, 18 to 21 knots. Just beautiful on Sydney Harbour. Quite a bit of north in it, so not your typical summer sea breeze, but I think we can expect some close crosses up the first beat. It'll be interesting to see where everyone lines up on the start line and getting out of the harbour cleanly.
Well, it's going to be a pretty competitive start, obviously a tactical game. You're no stranger to competition, obviously winning the recent Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. Incredible on board Celestial.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, no, it was a ripping race last year for us. Obviously, the conditions suited the boat. We had a great team and very fortunate that it all came together in a short space of time. We only had a few days of training on the boat. Took over it on the 3rd of December and had a great time. And yeah, it was a special one for sure, and great for Sam. He's been a great campaigner and continues to be, and I was thrilled to be part of it. So yeah.
Well, we did hear from the Commodore, Sam Haynes, from the CYC. He's got a message for everyone that we heard from him earlier.
Hello everyone, my name is Sam Haynes and I'm the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. I'm proud to welcome
just while we wait for that, we've got, as we said, 61 boats getting ready to head north, but they're going to be going upwind. But let's see what Sam Haynes had to say.
Hello everyone, my name is Sam Haynes and I'm the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. I'm proud to welcome competitors and spectators from around Australia and the world for the 2025 Noakes Sydney Gold Coast Yacht Race. The Noakes Sydney Gold Coast Yacht Race is a 384 nautical mile blue water classic to the Gold Coast's main beach from Sydney Harbour, marking the start of our offshore season as our season opener. The Great Winter Escape is a test of endurance, speed and strategy. Best of luck to all our competitors and sail fast. And to all our spectators, make sure you stop by the CYCA clubhouse to enjoy the rest of our season opener festivities. Hello everyone.
Well, as you mentioned, this race also marks the start of the 2025-2026 Audi Centre Sydney Blue Water Pointscore, a prestigious 6-race offshore series that will finish with the legendary 80th Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race this December. But all eyes are on this week, and if defending champion Smuggler, can the TP52 hold their title and kick things off good this season? But we're actually looking at Wild Thing right now, and someone's right up the rig. They've had trouble getting their new mainsail up, but they've got a new rig on that boat.
Yeah, that's right, Lisa. So that's the old Wild Oats rig, so I understand. So it's a couple of generations old, but a great step forward for that boat. So it should be able to see its full potential now with the full-size rig and all that form stability in the hull. It'd be very interesting to see how it goes, and the forecast I think suits it pretty nicely. A lot of reaching and big wide hull, and we've seen it fly down the harbour before in reaching conditions and really light up. So if it all holds together, they should be rocking along up the coast.
They should have a nice ride, but I'm not sure they're going to quite get the race record. So the race record was set in 2012 by the iconic Wild Oats 11 with a time of 22 hours, 3 minutes and 46 seconds. So I heard the race will be around 27 to 30 hours this time because, I mean, maybe if we talk a little bit about the weather, we've got about 10 minutes to start, but as you said, it's pretty windy on Sydney Harbour right now, quite gusty. Beautiful. It stopped raining, the sun's come out, but as they get offshore, it should be pretty windy out there too before it clocks around to the left, and should be a nice reach up the coast. Next couple of days quite windy, but you want to get to Gold Coast quickly because the wind's going to die.
It certainly looks that way, doesn't it? There's a big hole forming off the coast up there on Tuesday, I believe, so getting up there quickly is a point in order, and the Wild Thing should be able to do that. I think they'll be picking a waypoint off Seal Rock somewhere and just putting the hammer down. The first afternoon there'll be a bit of upwind beating, and it'll be interesting to see if they just head straight offshore or if they do chip back in. I've spoken to a couple of the guys in the fleet, one being Alex Nolan on board Bacchanal, and they were definitely considering going offshore. So for a small boat, I was pretty surprised because in the past it hasn't worked. Going against the East Coast current, it always looks good and feels good, but then getting back in is really tricky. So my feeling is staying close to the coast still, trying to find that nice balance between pressure and inside the East Coast current. But if you're a bigger boat, it'll be very tempting to get out there.
It's always a toss-up, I imagine. But I guess for you, we're just looking around the fleet at the moment. The sail setups, obviously a few boats with their reefs in their sails already.
Yeah, well, we're looking at Wild Thing. They've got a reef in. It looked like they were checking their lock mechanism up there and just probably making sure of a few things, because I dare say they'll be going in and out of Reef 1 and even Reef 2 at some points with the bigger rigs. So probably cross-checking a few things there. Most of the other boats have full main up, and I think looking at the breeze at the moment, it's backed off ever so slightly. We're probably looking at actually 12 to 15 there at the moment. And so full mains for the beat out of the harbour before they find more pressure offshore. Yeah.
Maybe talk us through, obviously, trying to make that sail call. As you said, it's died off quite a lot. It's been pulsing throughout the day. It actually looks like it's going to end up more of a tactical race out of the harbour, quite gusty, quite shifty. But when you have to make that decision to kind of change your sail setup, what are those conversations like, and how quick can you do it?
Yeah, good question. Well, at this point in the starting sequence, you'd probably have 2 jibs on deck. So you'd be thinking your full main or making a call on your mainsail setup and then choosing your final jib at the moment. So they might have an all-purpose J2 type style jib along with a J4 or something along those lines. If they see the breeze pulse, then they can go the heavier air jib. But at the moment, it looks like you'd be going for a J2 and a full main. And having the jib going up sort of 9 to 7 minutes before the start of the race and getting into it. And I think they'd all have already checked their shedding positions and gone through the motions and done a little beat, had a look at Bradley's head and figured out their course of strategy, yeah.
We focus a bit on the start now. Obviously, everyone's sort of lining up, getting their time on distance sort of, but we did see, as you said, a lot of people doing their practice runs. It has changed quite a lot since we first got out here, so I don't know how good those practice runs will come into it. But I guess this start line, having a look at it, we did see some boats going off on port, which looks quite nice, but I think that's going to be pretty hard to execute.
Yeah, very tempting, looks great, but very dangerous all the same. So I think, as we were discussing, Lisa, don't get stuck under Bradley's head. Gets very light under there, and so picking a line in towards Bradley's head and trying to line up that tack onto port, that clearing tack, and setting yourself up actually for the second tack, so get a nice long leg into the left-hand side of the track. So yeah, I think it's quite an even line at the moment looking at it, although yeah, it's not quite as far left as what it was earlier. It's definitely looking light over in Taylor Bay. So you might see more, in the first half of the beat, a bit more middle right, and then more left up the top of the track. So yeah, they're all in their sequence at the moment, doing time on distance runs and seeing how long it takes them to come into the line, and yeah, getting set up. It's getting busy.
Yeah, we've got 5 minutes to go to the start. So I guess it is quite tricky, especially because it's been quite shifty out here. It probably will end up being where the breeze is, what shift you're in. So how late, I guess, into the sequence would you be deciding where you're going to start?
Yeah, again, good question. I think they're already in sequence to some degree in doing their loops and trying to find that rhythm that you're looking for pre-start so that you can know how long it takes to come in on your final approach and be very, very set up so that they can pull the trigger at the right time. But I think they're already going through the motions, and you can see the chain that's going on here, coming back in and tacking back onto starboard. So a couple of them still have a couple of runs at that. But you'll see the final approaches at around 2 minutes or a minute 45, somewhere around there, where they take their final tack onto starboard and come in. But at this stage, it doesn't look like any port hand approaches, although the big wild thing's looming out there in the distance.
Having to think about it, that's for sure. we were just looking at Moneypenny on the screen just before. Obviously, they're going to have a pretty nice run. If we just have a quick chat in the last couple of minutes of who's looking good. Obviously, the TP52s will really enjoy these conditions. Smuggler, you were saying you think they're going to have a pretty nice run up to the Gold Coast.
I think they're the form boat. They were a form boat last year and won the race, of course. And I think they'll be right up there for this one again. The weather pattern certainly suits the 52s and Moneypenny as well. I think they're lining up for this race really nicely. More reachy conditions up the top. They should carry the pressure through. So they're certainly ones to watch. But the TP52 fleet, Moneypenny, that's where it's at the moment. And you can't rule out that some of the smaller boats. I know the Bacchanal team. They've got a great team, a well-organised program, so if they're able to avoid the light spots, then that'd be a show as well. Yeah,
one of our international entries from the USA as well. Yep. So, and Moneypenny won, I think 2 years ago with Sean Langman, right?
Correct, yes, and then they had a great Sydney to Hobart race as well. So I think Sean did a great job of optimising that boat over a number of years, made some really good choices in the mods that he did, got the rating to a nice balanced level for the boat's performance. And showed in a lot of races the potential that the boat's got. So the new owners did a lot of miles this year. They took it back to Perth and then brought it back almost immediately. So they've got to learn the boat pretty quickly. So I think they've got a predominantly Perth-based team, and it'll be really interesting to see how they handle this race in particular with the windy first night and the reaching conditions. Hopefully they go well.
Well, Sean's a little bit busy at the moment. He's obviously over in the UK doing the Admiral's Cup, which we'll chat a little bit more about later because we're actually within about 2.5 minutes, I think, to the start right now. So we can see everyone lining up. You can see the pin at the bottom end of your screen at the moment. And the wind's just kicked again, I reckon.
It has. It definitely has just picked back up. So as you said, it's been pulsing for the last hour, and it looks like we're in an up pressure start. So that's good. Everyone's in their final approach, looking over my left shoulder. We've got Smuggler in the middle of the line, so I'd say that's not a bad place to be at the moment. They've probably picked a spot near to Bradley's Head that they want to lay into and set up for that first tack onto port. Getting quite busy at the boat end here. And
Wild Thing's screaming in on port at the moment, probably looking for somewhere to flick over, I imagine. We were about a minute and a half away, I'd say, from the start. They're just bearing down now, ducking the fleet, so they'll come in for their final approach pretty hot.
Yeah, it looks... Yeah, they're going to be looking for a spot there. It's going to be quite difficult. They might go conservatively, but that's not in Warrow's DNA, so let's see. But... we just saw Smuggler tack back onto port here, so they've taken a chip up the line. Some very well-placed boats up here. I'm just looking behind me. The Unicorn, well-positioned, although they might be getting squeezed on the boat a little bit late. I know Bucko, our old mate, is on board that one, so watch out. Oh, they've tacked out.
Pretty busy up here at the boat end. Everyone's going to get locked out. It's 40 seconds to go still, though, but very crowded at this boat end. Yeah. Bows are going down now, though.
I think everyone's very early. So with 40 seconds to go, I think we're going to see some boats over the line here early. There's certainly some that have been squeezed out, some that have already pulled the trigger here. So I think, this is... might want to go forward here, Jimmy.
Full chaos on the start of the Noakes Sydney to Gold Coast race, that's for sure. Good action for everyone at home. We've got 10 seconds to go to the start. Plenty of boats over. Some people having to come back already. It is all action here. And we are a go. Beautiful breeze, around 20 knots has just kicked, and looks like we've got a few individual recalls.
Individual recall, okay, they let it go. There you have it. So right in the middle of the line there, without being able to see that well, I think Moneypenny's nailed the start. I can see their bow forward and in a very strong position. Wild Thing's quite buried at the moment. I guess they did go conservatively. Smugglers popped their bow out and looking in great shape there. We're just noticing here the blue boat V5, I think they're from New Zealand. It looks like they're slowing the boat down to go back, so they must have broken the start. They've got their sails eased and seem to be stalling the boat to try and find a gap to bear away and go back to restart.
Pretty hard to spin around there. It's just super crowded. I guess, as you were saying, the middle of the line was really the safe option there.
Yep.
It wasn't too... you just be able to find your own gap, and as you said, Smugglers popped out quite well. Moneypenny down the line. Wild Thing looked like they've cracked the sheets and just trying to go below everyone, but
yep.
No one's going to clear Bradley's head from that midline, so they'll all be looking at being able to attack. And we've got the beautiful Sydney ferry coming right through the start.
My favourite ferry, that one. I've had some battles with that on the 18s, but that's part of Sydney Harbour, and that's very typical of racing on the harbour. So you've just got to expect it and make the best of it. But certainly, Moneypenny's absolutely smashed the start here. They're going great guns, and they'll be looking for the best point to tack onto port and the best pressure. And I think that's highly sprung. That's well positioned here underneath Smuggler's bow. So those two TP52s have gone really well off the line as well.
We're about to hit a bit of a light patch where we've got Moneypenny at the moment, so I think it's really going to be about trying to get that dig out and clear that lull under Bradley's head, but beautiful breeze just to the north of Shark Island, so be interesting to see. I think they'll be flicking over onto port pretty quickly here.
Yeah, the breeze compresses on Bradley's head, so they're probably trying to get in right onto the edge as far in as they can get, and then tack on the bending pressure around the point to try and get the best angle and make the best gains out of this part of the harbour. But yeah, and Moneypenny and Wild Thing are on screen at the moment. Wild Thing's put the bow down and gone through a lot of the smaller boats, as you would imagine. But certainly Moneypenny looking great, and I'd say that they'd be setting up for attack pretty soon and heading back out into the main part of the harbour where there's really nice pressure. So Wild Thing and Moneypenny tacking onto port right in what I used to call Quigley's Corner, because it gets very squiggly in here and easy to bugger it up if you go too long.
Yeah, beautiful angle for Moneypenny right there. And then just if we look at the back of the fleet, they're going to have a clear cross, no problem. I guess everyone that got in a little bit of dirty air at the start, they've tacked out really early and heading towards Port Piper, but everyone out on this left-hand side near Bradley's head is looking super strong. Obviously bigger boats, but really nice angle, as you were saying, with the compression over here.
Yeah, Moneypenny on the money, you might say. They've absolutely nailed that, so going well. And looking in behind us here, we've got the 252s best placed next and almost in a match race straight away. So Smuggler choosing to lee bow and get back out into the pressure earlier, which is a nice move. Both boats going really well there and in the best pressure.
I mean, if we just look up the course, obviously we're saying it's quite gusty. It is pretty good breeze across the whole course, but from a tactical point of view, obviously, in terms of throwing tacks in, how much are you losing on these TP52s?
Yeah, the less the better for sure. So the luxury that they've got at the moment in getting off the line well is that they can do longer tacks and choose when they want to, what lanes they want to pick on the harbour and get the best out of the outgoing tide and picking their line in with what pressure that they've got. And certainly, it's, as we were discussing earlier, it's not your typical sea breeze northeasterly, it's much more northeasterly. So the left-hand side of the track, being on port is strong and just finding the best pressure in and around that. Wild Thing...
looks like something's going not so great for them right now. I'm not sure what's...
They're looking very healed at the moment and probably setting up for attack to come back across the harbour. And on the hundreds, you've got to do things a lot earlier than the smaller boats. Things take a lot more time, and not knowing the systems on Warro's boat, the Wild Thing, it looks like that's what they've got going on there. So trying to get out of the harbour cleanly, but already coming through the pack and showing the strength of the extra waterline. But Moneypenny going great guns here, well out in front. A big lefty heading right across the harbour and in the best pressure at the moment. And looking at a pretty picture right there.
So Moneypenny, the Reichel Pew 69, obviously built in 2008, so it's been around for a while, but has a great success rate offshore.
Certainly since Sean owned the boat, as we said, it took some great steps forward. But back onto the wild thing, trucking along upwind, very heeled. Originally the Beaugest, 80-footer, very, very powerful hull shape, and trucking along, going okay.
It's been a bit of a staged approach for them to get to the boat we see right now. Obviously, the 80 becoming 100, and now they've got the full rig. So awesome to see them being out here with the final setup, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Warro had a vision. He got the boat, he took it on, and here he is with the boat with the full-size rig and getting better and better with each time he's going sailing. They've got someone on the back of the boom at the moment. I think they're just playing with their reefing lines, getting them reset up. So
we've already got a bit of a match race, as you said, going on behind us between Highly Sprung and Smuggler. Pretty close there, pretty stuck into it, but not really an exit option at the moment for Smuggler.
No, actually Highly Sprung's done really well to hold their lane. I thought Smuggler did a very nice job tacking under their bow, but they haven't been able to squeeze up through them. So Highly Sprung doing a fantastic job hanging in there and very, very close. You would imagine that these guys are going to be battling it out all the way up the coast. Very evenly matched boats and in performance, and I think generation of TP52s, both on the up with their programs and spending more and more time racing. I know Seb and the Smuggler team have built over the last 5 years really nicely and have had some great results in the Hobart. So, yeah, very, very tight there at the moment.
And Highly Sprung, they're a bit of mix of youth and experience. A lot of the CYC Youth Academy on board, getting their ocean race experience with some good veterans as well. So awesome to see the tight racing, and I'm sure it's going to be a tight race all the way up the coast. But it is getting a little bit, it's not too bumpy on the harbour at the moment. Obviously we have an outgoing tide and a big swell offshore, but we expect the waves to pick up as we head towards the heads, but for now it's all about these crosses. Wild Thing's coming back on starboard. Moneypenny is just clearing the point up there, and beautiful angle that these two TP52s picked.
Yeah, they've chosen to stay on port for as long as they can. Certainly the gaining tack up the harbour at the moment, and Wild Thing crossing back onto starboard. Moneypenny continuing into Nelson Park, getting as far in onto the east side of the harbour, tacking now. So they've done a great job so far, and the TP's hanging in there really nicely, following suit.
Just heading back down the harbour now, and it's pretty busy out here, I guess. How hard is it when you're out here racing? There's 60 other boats to manage all those crosses, manage those tacticals. I mean, it's pretty nice to be out in front, stay in front, and be able to pick your own lane. But back here is where it gets really interesting.
It sure is, and if you're getting dictated by other boats and bounced back the wrong way that you don't want to go, it can be really frustrating. So having a clear mind and being able to pick or have a vision to pick long lanes and clean lanes as much as you can. We've got a nice cross coming up here.
Pretty Woman's going to have to probably duck Antipodes here, I think. Crack the sheets and go underneath. So Antipodes, another one of our international entrants. Obviously, being a bigger boat, it probably isn't going to do that well overall in terms of handicap, but still going to have a pretty nice run up to the Gold Coast.
It rates a little higher than the TP52s, and I think the waterline should suit it with the reaching, but my thoughts are that the 52s should be better than them and finish over the line ahead of the 72. However, they won't be too bad. I'd say they'll be in the top 10 overall with looking at the forecast, because they should get up the coast and avoid the light spots and finish before the light spots. They've got some very experienced guys on board, a team that's been together, a lot of them, for over 20 years. I know Andrew Crowe and Craig Malouf and a few of the boys that were on the Ragamuffin going back with Sid on the 100. So I think that they'll be having a nice, comfortable ride up the coast on that thing.
Well, they're representing Hong Kong. So we've got 3 international entries, Antipodes from Hong Kong, Bacchanal from the USA, and we've got someone from New Zealand that's just escaping my head right now, but I'm sure when they could pop up.
On board or V5?
V5, yes. So there are three international entries for the Noakes Sydney Gold Coast.
Well, V5 had to go back at the start, so that's pretty unfortunate for them because, as you know, it's a long way back, and particularly in the nor'easter, you're having to sail through everyone's gas and try and do the best that you can with the chopped up air. So we're just turning across the harbour to re-engage with the middle of the pack. A lot of the boats looking pretty good.
It looks like it's died off again. So as we said, that breeze is really coming in and out, bit of cloud action, but it's dying off as we're coming up here and becoming a little bit more gusty, I would say.
Yeah, if we're looking up the harbour, it looks like the best pressure's in the middle of the harbour at the moment, and a lot of the fleet have come out hard left to pick up on that more northeasterly pressure with a lot more left in it. So there's a number of boats out here looking for that favoured left shift, although it is very puffy and there's a few light spots under the headlands here in Clifton Gardens. We're just approaching Clifton Gardens here, and we've got, I think that's the Beneteau First 40s on screen at the moment, and this first afternoon could suit them quite well. They're very much an upwind boat, and came to life as a result of the 40.7, highly successful Beneteau yacht, production yacht, and the first 40 followed that and had some good results, not quite as good as its predecessor, but certainly the upwind first afternoon. This should suit them, and they should feature on the scoreboard later today.
Well, we can see there's no love lost between these two. There's such a tactical game. Everyone's staying close and protecting their position at the moment. Can't see who that is, but glamour afternoon on Sydney Harbour. I mean, I guess the conditions are just, you obviously would love to go downwind, but it's nice to have a bit of breeze. A northerly like this is quite strange in winter on Sydney Harbour. Often we get the westerlies, which we will expect later this afternoon, but you'd expect a really strong westerly or a southerly or nothing at all.
Yeah, for sure. Or certainly the light westerlies. And typically the start of this race is very slow. It's almost a drift off getting out of the harbour, and you're trying to pick current over wind. But today we've got this beautiful northerly. It's gradient pressure. It's very cold. So tonight you'd want to have a bear suit on, that's for sure. I think it'd be as cold as the Hobarts get. So really it's a lovely forecast for this race. A good beat this afternoon and then into reaching conditions up the coast. It doesn't really get much better for this type of race, and yeah.
Well, we're just heading back up to catch up with Wild Thing that look like they're a little bit more settled now than we saw them before. But as I was mentioning, the swell is starting to come through the heads, but the swell in general for this race is going to be a little bit chaotic because we have this big northerly, so we have a nice northerly swell, and then easterly swell and a southerly swell, so it's going to get messy out there. So I guess you've been out there, Jack. What's it like when the waves are just coming at you from all directions?
Oh, well, I think you hit the nail on the head. Messy. It's wet and bumpy, and I know on the 52s it can be really uncomfortable in those sorts of conditions. So, this first afternoon will be a little bit yucky, and once they start reaching it, should get a little bit nicer. But having that confused sea state won't make it as pleasant as the usual flatter, light westerlies that you get in this race that are pretty typical.
So what are you thinking? Wind and waves over not much wind and no waves?
Yeah, it's a big call. Traditionally, you don't go offshore. The East Coast currents, it's always really tempting to get out there and sail in more pressure and sail slightly faster and enjoy those conditions. But getting back in around the Cape is a lot harder than what it looks like on the computer. So it's a bit. I think it's quite risky still, even if you're a TP52 or even Moneypenny. I think in the 100, it's a no-brainer. You're heading straight out there, a long port tack. You'd be putting a waypoint off Seal Rock somewhere and just putting the hammer down all the way. But it'll be interesting to see what the 70 does. Moneypenny, what we're looking at right now, and the TP52s. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go out there, actually. And and have a go at it, and whether or not they can get back in without having to tack. That's the key, getting their bow back across the current and getting back into the coast. So you don't want to be tacking at that point.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, we've got two little match races going on. Obviously, Wild Things caught up to Money Penny. They've had to tack out. But we have cleared Sour Pig, and coming to the western side of it. So now they've flicked over and heading out on port towards the Sounds, whereas Wild Things still heading towards Middlehead. It looks like it takes a long time for them to get settled out of tack, though. So you don't want to be tacking 100 too many times.
You certainly don't. And I don't know if he's got the water ballast up and running yet. I doubt it. It'd be too many things to have going on and getting out of the harbour. But you can see the dagger board going up there. So with each tack, that one goes up, one goes down, getting the timing with that, letting the boat accelerate and get flow over the foils again. So, yeah, you can see that they're getting themselves together, chipping away, trying to tack as least amount of times as possible. Quite heeled, it's still getting the keel up there by the look of it. So,
and the full backwinding of the mainsail there.
Yeah, that's just getting the trimmers in the trim loop and communicating. I think the main sheet trimmer needs to be talking to the jib trimmer there, just saying, give me a little ease, please. But they've come through slowly but surely and chipping away on Moneypenny. Again, Moneypenny's had a fantastic beat here, and they appear to be laying out of the harbour. Won't have to tack again, which is really nicely done. Same with Wild Thing. They'll just slowly but surely roll over the top of Moneypenny by the look of it. And very lovely shots there of the bow, and the two going past Watson's Bay and South Head.
So we are into the swell now. It's really wrapping around the point, so it's all on out here. But I guess in a race like this, it is quite interesting because you're racing your own race, you're racing with your handicap, but then you've also got these big boats ripping around, stealing you in, trying to roll over the top of you. So another bit of a tactical thing to think about, how to position yourself not to get into too much trouble, too much bad air with a boat that you're never going to win against.
That's right. That's a key to getting out of the harbour, and in these busy starts is picking clean lanes, or as clean as you can get in the section of the fleet the section that you're in with the fleet. So minimising manoeuvres and picking long lanes and trying to stay in the best pressure as much as possible, and working on your manoeuvres, keeping them clean and not rushing. Rush tacks and jibes are the worst possible thing coming off the line. So you want to keep everything as calm as possible and focus on getting into the mode and communicating well on board and keeping the boat rocking along. So Wild Thing doing exactly that at the moment. Although the main's still inside out, they're going along nicely and setting themselves up for a pretty clean exit out of the harbour.
If you're Moneypenny right now, obviously you're about to get rolled in the next couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. You just kind of have to suck it up until they clear and just wait for your clear air to come.
Sure.
I mean, they've set themselves up as best as possible considering.
For sure, and they both look semi-cracked sheets. They're not fully on the breeze at the moment, and you'd imagine that Moneypenny, once they get rolled, will come up into Wild Things' line and try to stay on their hip. And even if it means taking a quick chip back up, I think for that sort of 45 minutes that they're in the same vicinity, they'll try and keep their air clear and have a nice lane so that they can keep the boat hitting its targets, which they've been doing really, really nicely so far.
It's quite interesting. So we're just obviously coming up fully into the Sound right now and looking forward. North Head is creating quite a bit of a wind shadow. So where they are, they're right near South Head. Good breeze here, but it does look like it's going to get a little bit lighter. So probably don't want to chip up too much into the north. But obviously, if it means you're not in dirty air, be well worth it. Looks like there's a whale watching boat out here too.
Yeah, well, it is the season, isn't it? And they've proliferated over the last 20 years. So there's tens of thousands of whales going up the coast, so something to consider for the fleet. But yeah, Wild Thing going nicely there. Got the bow down, speed's going up.
Looks like they're doing really well. They're just gliding straight over the top of those waves, no problem.
Yeah, that's right. And they've just picked a line to get out of the heads here, as you were saying, to avoid the light spot under North Head. And Moneypenny's still more hard on the breeze. They're probably going to try and come up into their line and clear their air, as we were discussing. But beautiful shots on a lovely afternoon leaving Sydney Harbour.
What a great way to kick off the Audi Centre Blue Water Pointscore series and head up to the Gold Coast. It's a great winter escape. It is pretty cold here in Sydney today, so I don't know if the Gold Coast will be much warmer, but what a way to get up there, that's for sure.
It's definitely warmer up there. Sydney's been freezing. I want summer to come back. It's too cold, too cold. But the trip north for this race will be very cold. I was chatting to a couple of the navigators today, and they had their bear suits and preparing themselves for a brisk night tonight.
We might head back down and see who's coming out the harbour next. It looks like Smugglers won out of the battle they had with Highly Sprung, so they're looking pretty nice. Great angle out of the heads, just clearing South Head now.
It looks like they've done very nicely there. They were a lot closer 10 minutes ago, and they must have picked the lane back across the harbour a little better than Highly Sprung in the top half of the course, because they've opened up a 10 boat length lead there, done very, very nicely. Steve McConaughey leading the charge for Seb for this race. Seb's overseas doing his usual tour through the States, so in good hands with Steve, and they've had a great start getting out of the harbour and are in good shape for the first night. Highly Sprung hot on their tails though.
And then we have a little bit of a gap to the rest of the fleet, but everyone's kind of done a pretty similar thing tactically. I guess everybody's just trying to minimise the tax, keep it simple, considering how much, there's a great breeze again. It's really kicked in. The sun's come out. Absolutely beautiful weather here, but everyone's pretty much tacked onto port and heading out the heads.
Yeah, it looks very orderly, doesn't it? It's not the usual.
Well, I'm sure it doesn't feel like that while you're out there.
No, it doesn't. But normally you've got a bit more of a split in the fleet with left or right. But I think because it's so much more north in the pressure today, then you're getting that left-hand track and lay out of the harbour. So lots of boats coming up here in front of us. That's we had Koa on screen there. They're not too far behind the other two 52s, going nicely. And then I think we've got the Cookson 50 coming up. And they've had a very nice start as well.
How's the Cookson 50 going to go in the conditions that we're expecting, Jack?
Look, I think light to moderate, they're very strong. We've had a couple of good battles with them in our old TP52 over the years and in this race in particular. So sticky is not sticky in light air, and they're very strong. I'm not sure how they'll go in the fresher upwind conditions. They're probably a little bit light on for stability.
And then Frantic, we've got another TP52.
Yeah, Frantic rates really well. They've got the pinhead mainsail. They've got out of the harbour pretty cleanly there, so they won't be too far behind at the moment, or they'll be right in the mix actually. So going nicely, and then of course Antipodes, and they'll just let the tractor get up to top speed, and off she'll go. So they look pretty comfy there on the rail actually.
Well, Frantic, which we just saw go past there representing the Newcastle Cruising Yacht Club, there's 7 entries, I think, from that club, so good representation. They'll be going past home later on today, giving a wave, and then keep heading up north.
Indeed. So we're still looking at Koa there, I believe, and going past South Head on port tack, leaving Sydney Harbour.
Koa had a good Pittwater to Coffs race earlier this year.
Yeah, another great race on the calendar, and yeah, good for them to get a win.
I think their 2 owners are overseas in Europe, so they've got somebody else driving it up to the Gold Coast at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to be pretty typical this time of the year. I know we did that one year with the Celestial. Sam was away gallivanting around over in Europe, so I skippered the boat, and he didn't miss much. It was a very slow, long race. We went offshore and didn't do very well. And he said, "I told you so."
All right, so we might have a look. Bacchanal is heading out the harbour. They're one of the smaller boats. They look a lot smaller than the TP52s, that's for sure. Oh, it's getting busy out here. Even we're trying to have to avoid things going on. And then we've got Minerva on the screen.
Well, certainly Bacchanal has done really well there for their size boat. They are in great shape getting out of the harbour. They've got a relatively clean lane. They'll just be trying to hang in there and looking really, really well positioned.
Plenty of close crosses going on in this section of the fleet, that's for sure. On the screen, I'm trying to see who's having a little bit of trouble. Are they setting a reef, or are they setting the reef up at the moment, I think?
Yeah, they are. Looks like they've put in a reef and almost got the inboard end down and tucked away, still getting the back of the main sorted. They look pretty relaxed about it all. And
so that's Joe DeCock, also from Newcastle Cruising Yacht Club, and Wendy Tuck's aboard.
Okay, well, that's a pretty solid squad, so they know what they're doing and how the boat's suited in these conditions. So they're obviously getting prepared for the next few hours, leaving the harbour and getting it set up for its right mode and where it performs nicely. So looking fairly under control.
Yeah, we are expecting the breeze to be a little bit windier as they head offshore, so it could kick up to 30 knots at times. I think it's probably a little bit more moderated than we were expecting at the start, so we'll see what happens. But you can follow along. In about a couple of hours' time, the Yacht Tracker will be able to tell you the placing. So to find the Yacht Tracker, you just head to the event website. So it's goldcoast.cyc.com.au, something like that. But if you head to the CYC Yacht Club, you'll definitely find it. It's just a little bit hard. Oh, you can see it's on the screen right now. That's how you find the tracker, and you can follow them all the way up to the Gold Coast until they hit Southport.
It's addictive. Once you start checking, you just can't stop.
Refresh.
Yeah. So we're on the Unicorn there. Our mate Bucko going nicely. Seemed pretty relaxed. In reasonably good shape.
So the FAR is the FAR 277?
Yep.
Built in 1992.
Wow, there you go. It's looking in great shape. Looks like it's had a bit of a respray and interesting jib setup. I'm sure Bucko's had a hand in that. And yeah, well positioned getting out of the harbour.
They were entered for the Rolex Sydney Hobart last year, but had to pull out because their sails weren't ready in time. So
okay.
Good to see them make it to the start of this one.
Oh well, they've got a good 6 months of preparation ahead of them, and the first race of this year's offshore calendar racing series, they're in it, and yeah, great way to do it. Great breeze, great forecast. So lucky them.
Well, we've got 61 boats obviously competing in this edition of the Noakes Sydney Gold Coast Yacht Race, but there's a lot in that 40 foot to 52 range, and we're seeing them really congested right now where we are.
Yeah, I think, and there's quite a few two-handers as well. I think 16 off the top of my head, so that's an amazing achievement for the race. What a battle that'll be, having 16 boats to race against, two up.
And a lot of J99s within that division.
Yeah, it seems to be the boat of choice, so it'd be fascinating to follow that. But certainly the mid-size 40 to 50 foot range there's a lot of boats in, and that'll be a great race for everyone involved in that section of the fleet. There's
also Volster Yeah Baby, who did really well in last year's. They were fully crewed, but this time they're also going double-handed. Yeah, so that's Fonzo, and I understand that this is the first step towards a Vendée Globe attempt. So he's going two-handed in this one and using the Rickman's fantastic boat, which did so well last year. And yeah, it'd be fascinating to see how he goes. I saw him the other day and he had the bit between his teeth. He seemed really focused. So fingers crossed everything holds together and he gets it up there in one piece and goes well. Yeah, I'm just talking about keeping it in one piece. I guess there's so much boat prep, but with this one sort of kicking off that Blue Water series, I mean, is it the start of the prep? When does the prep start? What's kind of like to build into a race like this? Well, boat preps, it's a constant thing, isn't it? There's an endless list on boats that you can always be improving and making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So I think the more boat prep that you can do, the better, because if something breaks and then you can't finish the race or your race is impaired by a breakage, then you can only kick yourself, can't you? Oh, it's so frustrating. you've got to replace those ropes and do the work. And it's so important for a campaign and having fun, because it really detracts from the fun when you're breaking stuff and not able to perform at the level that you're trying to perform at. So and also trying to fix something if it's trying to fix something offshore is not always easy. I guess. No, definitely not. Fixing sails down below offshore is shocking. So you don't want to be doing that, and you don't want to be kicking yourself with ropes breaking and things like that. So yeah, I think setting yourself up for the first race of the season with a boat that's in great shape is key to the back end of the season as well, because once you start well, you're not chasing your tail, you're not trying to catch up and do more boat work. You want to start well. We got Making Waves on the screen at the moment. They are in all right shape, sort of kind of just, there's plenty going on up ahead. Sorry, got distracted, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah, very, very tightly packed up there. Everyone trying to position themselves for the exit around North Head and squeezing everyone else on Port Tack, trying to keep a clean lane. Someone trying to tack up there. Looks like they're stuck in irons, actually. So a lot of boats.
It's fairly swirly when you get under North Head, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's it. Looks like there's a bit of a flapping sail up there, so there may be an issue on board. No, stop now, so they're going again. But we saw the V5 go past as well, the Kiwi boat, and had come through the fleet reasonably well after having to go back, so that was a nice job. And we've...
So if the big boats are going to get there in 27 to 30 hours, depending on the conditions, what is this sort of mid-pack looking at?
I think it's all dependent on the light spots that are forming up the coast and whether or not you get past that or you get stuck in that. So you would expect the majority of the fleet to be finishing by Monday evening, Tuesday. But if you're still out there Tuesday afternoon, I think life's not going to be that great. So.
You want to get in before the midnight. So we've got Min River on the screen at the moment. So they're going double-handed. They've done quite well in the past as well. And it's joined by Jan Scholten. So we got...
that'll be very good then.
Yeah, Jean Ling joined with Jan Scholten. So nice little team there. They...
Yeah, that'll be one to watch in the two-handed pack, and
I guess it's not. That's the nice thing about a race like this. Obviously, you've got your line honours, you've got the overall, but you've also got the battles win the battles, and we kind of touched on the double-handeds. But you're always kind of enjoying. I think that's the cool thing about sailing is you're kind of racing the pack that you're around, and you know that you got to be that far in front of this boat or this far behind that boat, and that's okay, and trying to do the maths out there.
Absolutely, that's where it's at. You know, those battles within the race is what keeps you coming back. And I always say Hamilton Island Race Week is the best division is cruising division because there's so many boats. You've always got someone to race, and so that having these little battles to give yourself a yardstick, to have someone to beat, to give yourself that goal is so important to having fun and progressing.
So that's Volster on the screen at the moment.
Okay, and trucking along nicely. Got a clean lane, not in anyone's gas.
So that's the other double-handed that was did really well in last year's. That boat did really well in the Noakes Gold Coast, Sydney to Gold Coast last year, but it's a bit of a handful with just two people on board for that one. Yeah,
lots going on as we were discussing earlier. It's powered up boat, lots of systems on board, built to be managed from the back of the boat, but still a lot going on and plenty of adjustments that can be made constantly. So a good test of skill.
We've got a few spectators as well just joining for the start. Not racing all the way up, just wanted to get in amongst it. Just heading back down the harbour now to pick up some of the other boats that are coming through. But the sun has completely come out on the harbour now. Absolutely glamour conditions. I'm a little bit jealous.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd want to go all the way through the night, but maybe just the start.
Yeah, well, it will be cold, but it is absolutely glorious out here at the moment. So it doesn't really get better for going up the coast. That little bit of westerly, those beautiful winter skies. It should be lovely sailing tonight. Yeah.
We've also got 6 female owner/skippers in the race, and I think that's something that we're seeing growing year to year. And First Light is it Elizabeth Tucker?
That's correct, yeah.
The boat that they've sailed back here from Spain with Cole Browro, who has done her amazing around the world.
Well, some great content to follow there with Cole and Elizabeth, so good on her for taking on the project and getting stuck into a campaign. And I dare say she's got plenty planned for this year, and all with the intention of going well into Hobart at Christmas time. So looking really good here, going nicely, powered up. Boat looks organised.
Elizabeth had barely stepped foot on a boat just 5 years ago to see her leading the charge and skippering this boat, so it's just awesome.
It's never too late to start sailing. That's the beauty of the sport. You can keep going until you're almost ready to drop. So, yeah.
Oh, beautiful scenes there. You can see just how condensed the fleet is. Everyone's gotten out of the harbour pretty nicely. You can also see how gusty it is just with that northerly. But once they get offshore, it should sort of even up a little bit, I imagine, before it goes around to the west, and then, anything can happen.
Yeah, it looks like it gets fresher off the coast. So it'd be interesting to see how long everyone holds on to port, or if anyone wants to chip in closer to land. We'll be able to see that on the tracker as we start to keep refreshing. But certainly at the moment, as they're leaving the harbour, everyone's trying to find a clean lane, on port tack, and keep the boat at best possible performance, not affected by the other boats around them.
You can just see that beautiful short north head, but it's casting that little bit of a shadow onto the fleet.
Yeah, a great example of the wind shadow for sure, and the breeze bending around the point, looking for that nice angle where you can lift up inside the boats that are further south than you or wider than you. So, yeah, lovely there. It's been a great outcome with 61 boats entered into this year's Noakes Sydney to the Gold Coast yacht race. Plenty of boats.
And I guess just looking ahead for the season, obviously this is kicking off the Audi Centre Sydney Blue Water Pointscore Series, and we've got 6 events that make it up, culminating in the 80th Rolex Sydney Hobart. But each of those races, Jack, offer something different challenges. Obviously, it's sailing, so you never know what's going to happen until the week of. But each one setting you up for really that finale heading down to Hobart.
Yeah, that's right. And the Blue Water Pointscore is prestigious in its own right. So all those races form a really important part of the preparation for Hobart. Each race offers different technical aspects, and a great opportunity for teams to get better and improve all of their boat handling and manoeuvres and understanding of the boat's performance capabilities. It really allows you to hone your team and build towards the end of the year. So we saw Smuggler had a fantastic year last year in the Blue Water, obviously, and got the benefit of doing all the races. And there's a lot to be said for that. I know sailing the 18s for many years, there's always the temptation not to do much in the first half of the year because it's cold and you're still building your enthusiasm. But those boats that are out there early and getting the benefits of more time on the water usually do well. So the same applies here. Get involved early.
And some of the boats will obviously keep heading up north. There's the Gold Coast to Mackay race starting on Friday, I think. So some will stay up there, some will turn around and come back to Sydney. But awesome time of year to really kick off that offshore season as we build in to the 80th. And we're expecting, it's a massive calendar this year, but we're expecting hopefully 100 boats for that 80th. And obviously so much going on in the sailing world right now. The Fastnet race, Rolex Fastnet race is happening, excuse me, late this afternoon. And it's all, you can follow it all either online on the tracker, as we were saying, and also across the socials. So the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia on Facebook, or Cruising_Yacht Club _Australia is on Instagram. So plenty of updates for sure throughout the next couple of days. But what a magnificent start we've had today. Got out pretty quickly.
Yeah, very quickly actually, and cleanly. No crashes. I didn't see any 360s. Only the V5 going back at the start line. Potentially a couple of others that we missed, but everyone's out there and going well so far. Got the Ocean Sailing Expeditions there. That's the old Imoca 60. And they should enjoy the conditions later tonight once it frees up. That boat, get the water ballast in the side and put a bit more sail up and let it rip.
Yeah, they're pretty reefed there.
Yeah, they are. I guess they're going conservatively, just getting out of the harbour without doing any damage, and perhaps later in the day when they've got clear patch of water and a bit more comfortable conditions with the water in the side of the boat, water ballast that is, then you should be able to open it up and let it rip a little bit more, but it looks well prepared and going okay.
It's kind of tough. Obviously, you set up in the harbour, it was beautiful wind, and now just exiting the sound is quite light, but once you pop out of North Head, it is absolutely smoking out there, so you don't want to be making too many changes. Is that somebody turned around coming towards us?
It is. Someone is.
It's not a good sign.
With 2 reefs in the main already, so we're not sure who that is. We'll pick that up as it comes through, but yeah, there it is on screen now, so someone's turned around and coming back in with some kind of issue. Already a couple of reefs in the mainsail. We'll pick up who it is as we approach them in a couple of minutes. But certainly the breeze should get windier and windier offshore over the next few hours, and from what the forecast is saying, upwards of 30 knots at times, and with the uncomfortable sea state, people will be getting wet and cold, but there's worse things that you could be doing.
Exactly. So they've got 384 nautical miles ahead of them. I guess you've done this before. How do you work a watch system with a race at sort of that length?
Pretty similar to the Hobart. So on the TP52, we usually run 4 hours on, 2 hours off, and that just rolls through the night. You started as early as you can, actually. I think getting rest into your crew is really important. No matter what the conditions are, having a team that's ready to go all the time. So at sunset, you'd probably be putting your team into the watch system and, rolling through the night, keeping your team fed and warm and healthy. So this is Joe DeCock and his team coming back in.
That was the team we saw setting that reef up. So they're
correct. Yes.
Already spinning around, which is unfortunate.
It's hard to tell what's gone wrong at the moment. Nothing appears broken in the rigging. They appear to be having a conversation in the cockpit. So,
or pretty calm on board.
Yeah, very calm on board. Yeah, okay. Hopefully everyone's okay. We haven't heard anything, so...
tough way to start.
Yeah. Again, another bird's eye perspective of all the boats heading out on port tack, leaving the harbour. What beautiful conditions! I mean, you can see that swell rolling in, the lines of the waves, and just how condensed the fleet still is. Yeah, well, the swell at the moment's quite actually east-northeast. I thought there was a bit more south in it, so they're really punching into that and the breeze at the moment. And everyone's still on port, just heading out. Yeah. Feels like that the best pressure's offshore, so everyone's got a similar goal: get out there and get into the best pressure, and try not to get stuck in the east coast current. Try and pick that all-important lane and position. It's because it runs at such a speed. It's although it's tempting to go out into more pressure, it's pretty tough going upwind against the east coast current. I can't wait to get back to shore and get on that yacht tracker and see what everyone's doing. Well, by then we might see a couple of tacks and people trying to position themselves for a long afternoon, but I think there's going to be a lot of port hand tack and long lanes, and the bigger boats might even stand on and just keep going and hope that the westerly slant comes sooner and they can just bend around the bottom of that. And the smaller boats probably chipping back in and staying away from the current and keeping closer to the coast. Well, it's the 37th edition of the Noakes Sydney to Gold Coast Yacht Race. What a magnificent start we've had. Jack, I've learnt so much sitting next to you. It's been great to have you next to me. But there is so much happening in the sailing world, as we were saying, and Sean is, a great sponsor of the event with Noakes, done amazing things. But he has a message for us from the Solent. Okay.
Hi, this is Sean Langman speaking from a very sunny Cowes. We've just started the Admiral's Cup representing the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, and we're doing okay. We had a bit of a session doing our first channel race, and now we're settled down into the event. I'm wishing all competitors in the Noakes Sydney Gold Coast Yacht Race a safe journey and have a great time, have fun.
Well, it's awesome to see Back to Black. Good luck in the Fastnet race later today. And we've also got CYCA represented in the Admirals Cup with Zen as well over there. So it's all happening.
They look like they're going really well too. Zen's had a couple of cracking races with Chris Nicholson calling the shots, and Sean and his team are going great guns as well. They had a very limited preparation time getting the boat up-spec'd and seemed to be going really well with the lack of time on the water. So fingers crossed they can jump up the rankings a little bit, but it seems really tight. A lot of very, very good teams competing, and the Fastnet, a big part of that, triple points. The forecast at the moment is for fairly light to moderate race, so it'll be fascinating to see how everyone goes.
Well, there'll be lots of tracker refreshing happening with all the sailing that's going on,
right.
That's for sure.
How good, yeah. And Sean's been a great supporter of this race, but also the 18-foot skiff class over many years, running two-boat programs, so he's a huge contributor to the sport, and good on him, and well done. I hope he goes well.
Well, I think that's our last boat on the screen that's getting ready to exit the harbour. So obviously Wild Thing 100 was out first, and we're just picking up, I'm going to guess that's Currawong heading out. So Kathy Veal and is it Bridget with her again?
Go the mighty Currawong. It's the SNS 34, I believe, and probably the smallest boat in the fleet. They're going to be out there for a few days, but fantastic. I guess they're ready for the adventure, and for sure they'll be sticking close to the coast, I'd imagine.
They're staying out of the current, that's for sure. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to today's live show. It's been an epic start to the Great Winter Escape. A special thank you, of course, to our race sponsor, as Jack was mentioning, Noakes Group, for another exciting edition of this offshore classic. Absolutely best of luck to Back to Black and Zen, who will be competing in that final Admirals Cup Rolex Fastnet race later today. And a final thank you to Sail Media, our host today, and the team behind the scenes bringing this broadcast to life. Best of luck to all the sailors racing north. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. Thank you, Jack, and we'll see you again soon for more offshore action.